Okie doke, sorry about that. Okay, so making the tier list. So the things that are in S tier, they're typically over the top damage, or they're going to be well-rounded in addition to having things that are broken. The A tier, I'm going to sum that up as like things that are extremely well-rounded, but they're not going to get as many complaints on the forums. They're going to synergize really well with things in the S tier, but they're not broken in the way that's going to piss you off as violently as the things in the S tier. And obviously, okay, so my bias here, which is really important to note, is that I've mostly been playing casters. So a lot of the things that I like to put in the S tier are really anti-caster, and specifically tanky into casters, so they might have more weaknesses with like physical damage or something. So let me show you DK here. So DK is either A tier or S tier. I think Unholy is better than Frost. Unholy, I'll show you on my DK why I think these things in a second here. So I'm loading my DK right now, and I'll show you what's really OP. So this is your boy Young Arthas. This is my Tauren DK that I plow booty on. Anyways, so Unholy is super OP because a lot of it is due to the 40% HP buff, and they just have so many things that are really broken with kind of percentage HP. Notably, Death Strike healing is based off of like percent HP as well, with like the minimum heal. So even if this is the minimum heal with Death Strike, it's really, really insane. DK's got some really good utility. Every spec is getting Binding Sleet, so that's great utility. You're getting Asphyxiate, and then you've also got Strang. So you've kind of got, 3 really powerful instant CCs kind of in the 45-second, 1-minute range. So your Go got really, really buffed as a DK by getting Blinding Sleet as like Unholy, etc. Your defensive kit is absolutely insane. You have a 2-minute IBF. You get the 20% stamina buff, which is disgusting with the 40% HP buff in PvP. AMS is buffed as well. It lasts longer. So it's a 7-second cooldown now. It absorbs a ton, and it's only got a 40-second cooldown. So DK defensives are looking cracked. Super, super nuts. I think the most OP thing is Will of the Necropolis. If I get a DK low, which is really rare and hard to do and requires an absurd amount of dampening, if I get them low, it's a tease because they're not actually going to die, because they basically get a wall if they're low HP. They've also got this thing which powers up their Ruin Forge effects, so that's going to buff their Spell Warden, which is really pisses me off as a caster. So that's super annoying. And then, so yeah, 2-minute IBF. So every 1 minute you have a stun out if you rotate that with Trinket, which is really insane. Shorter cooldown AMS, buffed at HP. You've got more utility, so you can also use some of this utility defensively as well. So now you might even have room for defensive utility. Your Lichborn is also a damage reduction thing now. So you have 2-minute Lichborn. So you have a trinket for everything. You have Lichborn, IBF, and regular trinket, and they're all 2-minute cooldowns. So it feels like if you CC a DK, they're not actually going to be CC'd. That's the way it feels as a caster right now. And then Lichborn, for whatever reason, now also reduces damage taken by 15% and gives you Leech. So DKs are fucking impossible to kill. They're not going to die, period. And you obviously have AMZ for your partners too. And then something that's really, really broken for Unholy is Enfeeble. So in addition to all these broken, you take less damage, now you make your opponent do less damage as well with Enfeeble. This has about 50 to 70% uptime, according to Pet Kick, the Unholy DK nerd. Your pet basically just procs people to do 15% less damage to you. So isn't that too much, Thanky? Yes, this is too much. DK has the most absurd defensive kit I've ever seen in my life right now. They cannot die. They cannot die. I mean, maybe to like Fury Warrior Hunter, like entirely physical damage with a huge MS from Fury, maybe then they can die. Compared to any other class in WoW, they cannot fucking die. And it pisses me off a lot, honestly, because they're so anti-caster. Let me read to you what Spell Warden does. This is disgusting. This is very gross. Where is Rune Forging? So Spell Warding, passive shield. Look at this. So this is percentage HP based. So everyone got a 40% HP buff. So this fucking thing is on steroids now. So the baseline version looks OP as hell. You can see it here. Passive Curse of Tongues if someone hits you. And, you know, stupidly overpowered passive defensive. That gets amped up by your PvP talent by 25%. In addition to that, it also gets amped up by this. And then obviously now it's insane because it's percentage HP based as well. So if you're a caster, go fuck yourself. Don't hit the DK. You're literally going to nerf your damage more by hitting the DK and getting the Curse of Tongues effect from passive Spell Warden than not even dotting the DK. It is the worst design I've ever seen. I can't say enough negative things about DK. Also, for their offensive side, Necrotic Wounds is percent HP based as well. So this is insanely overpowered with the 40% HP buff too. So DK is nuts. And specifically Unholy is nuts, but Frost is way improved as well. I want to put Unholy on S tier. I haven't seen exactly Chrome, TSG. So Unholy DK and Fury Warrior, Unholy DK and DH are going to be some of the best comps in the game by far. They're going to be unbelievably obnoxious. Everyone got mobility buffs, like in those kind of, in that group that I just mentioned. So you're never going to get them off you. You've got the stacking MS effects from DK and, you know, Warrior or DH. Like, neither of them can die to casters. I think that is going to be the single best comp, or those are probably going to be 2 out of the 3 best comps in the game in Season 1, barring nerfs. So I like to put Unholy on S tier personally. It cannot die. It does insane burst. It has improved utility, and it synergizes extremely well with all the other specs that are good. So I think Unholy is going to be meta-defining in the sense like of how well it pairs up with everything else. And in WoW, almost nothing is more powerful than being unkillable. And DKs are fucking unkillable. So Unholy is an S tier spec, and people who disagree with me, I am open to your feedback, but explain to me how it's not S tier. Like please, I would like to see someone explain to me how that's not S tier. Frost is less good. They don't have Enfeeble. They don't have the stacking MS effect, so I don't think they're S tier, but they're a really good spec. They're A tier. Yeah. The only thing that stands a chance at beating DK is probably DH. I feel like DH is probably the best spec in the game right now. They have a really, really insane new talent tree with like a lot of maneuverability. So even if something gets nerfed, there's so many good builds that DH has that are OP that I think they can really quickly switch to the next OP thing. DH is another spec that is passively unkillable to casters, which is, you know, as you might assume, something that I vehemently disagree with. As a caster player, they nerfed their demon skin thing. I'll just pull up the DH tree here real quick. Let's see. So this is a Dipi DH. Ha 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 ha. This is my DH. And so let me see here. Where's my talent tree? Where's the thing? So you have demonic wards, so 15% magic damage reduction passively. In addition to that, I forget where it is, but there's the other. Where is it? This is 6% more. So you take 16% less magic damage passively. That sounds problematic, doesn't it? That's because it's problematic. In addition to that, now they have a slow, so they're much more difficult to kite. Now they have reduced cooldown Fell Rush a lot of the time as well, and they also have this Fell Rush movement speed increase. So their mobility is like largely improved. You can't really kite them, period. And now they can slow you as well. That was DH's kind of one flaw, is they didn't have a slow. So they want, like DH Boomy, people didn't understand this, but DH Boomy didn't have a reliable slow outside of the Shaman. So like, I always knew this when I was fighting DH Boomy, but I could just walk away. I could literally just walk the fuck away from DH Boomy and be fine. People did not understand this. But I did as someone who played DH Boomy, but now you can't do that with Throwglaive Snare. So yeah, DH does insane burst. They get an instant fear now as well. It's not instant, but it activates after a second or two. So you can basically like, Fell Erupt or Incap the healer into a fear. So this is going to be really good with cleaves because they have that instant CC that cleaves can be lacking on healers. So that's a really good buff for them with utility. The actual DH tree is insane. Like I said, they have so many different options for really powerful builds, and there's a couple of different ways to play it. It's kind of like Shadow Priest in that sense. Yeah, you still get Nether Walk. Okay, so you take 16% less magic damage, and then you have pretty insane passive healing as a DH2. Demonic Appetite is a huge heal. Like on target dummies, this heals me for about 50k. So that's even more in Arena. And this procs every 5 to 10 seconds, and then that's a 50k heal. So Demonic Appetite is OP. You get Soul Rending, so that's 10% leech, which does a ton of healing as well, doubled with meta. And what are the other OP things? Oh, Demon Proc. Demon Proc is a full HP heal. It's really, really obnoxious. It's a full HP heal. So DH has insane passive healing, passive magic damage reduction. DHs are like obnoxiously hard to punish, and they can't be kited. So get used to DHs and DKs staying on you the entire game and not being able to counter pressure them at all. Yeah, that's a problem. So DH is super OP. They have, let's see, they have like really, really insane sustained, really, really insane burst. So any combination of these specs is just going to be insanely OP and very anti-caster. Yeah, I think once these specs get nerfed, a lot of other specs are going to become a lot better, notably casters. But as it stands, these are kind of the titans of Arena. And things that pair well with these classes do really well. The next DPS spec is Moonken. Moonken's not the best at anything. It's got some of the worst defensives in the game, and it's not fun. I would not recommend the spec for anybody. You still do something, like you're not completely useless, but you're not as good as any other DPS spec, or like it's not going to be a competitive specialization. It's going to be good in RPGs. It's not going to be good at Arena, and it's not fun. Don't play it. It's a C tier spec, I'd say. Feral is really strong. Feral does like a lot of cleave now. Feral seems really good. There's a lot of cool builds. You can specialize in single target, kind of specialize more in burst. It's really well rounded. You still have pretty good utility. Sorry, my voice is kind of dying here. I gotta sip some water. I don't think Feral's going to be S tier, Chrome, because they do take damage. Like if you hit a Feral, they either have to run away or react with a cooldown a lot of the time. So I think these classes at the very top cannot die. I think Feral at least has to play defensively, whereas these classes at the very top are so OP passively. Like you can just stay in, not change your gameplay at all, go fuck off and do something else and come back to your keyboard, and you're totally fine. Feral requires a little more thought in the sense that you actually have to maneuver yourself a little bit to play defensively. I don't think Feral kind of has lower haste right now, so you can't clone as much. You also lose Disorienting Roar. So Feral I actually don't love Feral right now. A lot of people like it, but I feel like you're losing utility. And the way I like to play Feral is with a lot of cloning and like Roar cloning the healer, being a little more kind of freestyling with CC. And you can't freestyle as much. The way you play on Feral right now is you pretty much do damage, stun, and then run when you're scared. That's kind of it. So it's really good. It does a lot of damage. It'll pair well with some of these other classes here, but I don't think it's as good as DK or DH at all. And I don't think it's not obnoxious like the S tier specs are. So that's where I put Feral. Bleed and physical damage counter DH and DK. You can't make generalizations like that. So DK is now extremely tanky into things. DK got a lot of defensive buffs. Everything they do is like percentage HP based, so the 40% HP buff helps them a ton. And they also have like that Will of the Necropolis. So if they're low HP, they have like a passive shield wall. So they're really, really hard to finish. Like if you get baited into killing a DK and you get them low, they don't actually die. And dampening was bugged and stacking twice, and I still didn't kill a DK a single time, ever, on beta. But now that their healing isn't getting nerfed by the bug dampening, they're never going to die. Like, try it. Like, take my word for it. They're not going to die. Okay? Yeah. So Evoker, going back to Evoker, I don't like the DPS Evoker. It feels like the shitty version of the healing Evoker. Like it just feels unfinished compared to the healing version. They don't have a lot of CC compared to a lot of specs, and their damage is good, but they take a lot of damage and they don't have a lot of control. They're not that good. They're middle of the pack. That's what I would say. I would recommend, if you like Evoker, just playing the healer. It's just the better version of the DPS. And the healer does like practically the same burst. It's really stupid. I'm not going to rate healers in this. This is just going to be the DPS tier list, and I'll link you Lontar's healing tier list, which I agree with, which has all the details. Boomy is trash tier. Boomy is ass. The biggest thing is that it's not fun. It's just not fun at all compared to any other caster, and it's also not good. So I would not recommend it. I'm not leveling my Boomy until they update the Boomy talent tree, and I'm leveling Shadow Priest first and then Warlock. Hunter is, again, okay. It does good damage, but unlike some of these specs, it takes a lot of damage. So it's like maybe they'll have a one-shot build something, but they're just kind of damage sponges. So they can't... Okay, something I need to do. Let's see here. I need to make a distinction. How do I add... Let's see. Whoops. Add row above. So we need to make... There is a huge gap between A tier and like B tier. Let me change the color of this. I don't know. There's a big gap here. Yeah. And the difference is that these specs are extremely tanky, and these specs actually take damage, and you can do effective damage into them. The S tier specs are unkillable. The A tier specs are very hard to kill. So that's kind of how I do it. Survival is the same way. I think survival is the best thing on B tier. Survival is really good, and it'll have good comps, and Bikmex is owning on it, and he's playing solo shuffle all the time on beta and making it look really good, but they take damage. They're not unkillable. So they're going to have good comps like outside of solo shuffle, but I think they're going to struggle more in solo shuffle with people breaking traps and stuff like that. There's just not... They still have a lot they can do with mobility and stuff. I don't think they're not oppressive the way these things are. Survival does great damage, but again, it actually dies. If you hit them, they have to run away or play defensively. Why is Unholy better than Frost? Unholy has the stacking MS effect with other classes with a traditional MS. Yeah, I'll publish this VOD, thank you. Don't worry. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, so Unholy, you have the stacking MS. You pair extremely well with every spec that has an MS, which is a lot of them. You do Insane Sustained, Insane Burst. You're unkillable. You have new and improved utility. That's Unholy in a nutshell. Okay, so moving on here. Marksman seems terrible. It's terrible in PvE as well. It just... The only good thing about it is like it has to have good damage, and it doesn't do good damage right now. It's worse than Boomy. I think it's going to get buffed, and it'll probably be okay. Marksman has a lot of utility, but it takes a lot of damage. So it's not going to be A or S tier ever, because it takes damage. And everybody got mobility buffs. So it's harder to kite on Marksman than it was, even though you got more kiting tools. All these melee DPS are just even more pesky now. So, I don't know. Yeah. Arcane Mage is very good. Arcane Mage is very, very good. I'd say it's better than Feral. I think the only thing holding back Arcane Mage are DH, DK, and Warlock, because they are so horrifically anti-caster. I think as soon as they nerf those anti-caster specs, I think Arcane Mage is going to be really, really fucking good. And people seem to love playing it as well. There's a ton of cool things you can do on it. That's one of the specs I would recommend if you like to play casters, is Arcane. It looks really promising. But again, it's really getting pushed down by these specs that are horrifically anti-caster. DH, DK, and Warlock. Fire Mage, unfortunately, is not very good at all. I think they really need to change Fire Mage so that their ignite damage doesn't break CC. They're kind of like fundamentally flawed, where like they're like a weird mix between like spreading their damage around and like this kind of sustained dot, spread your fire around fantasy, and like having to polymorph things. So I think poly needs to not break to Fire Mage dots. And then they just don't do very much damage. They just get run down. They're very killable. Fire is not in a great spot. Frost is kind of the same thing. Frost actually does damage, though. I think Frost could be okay. Frost might be the best C tier spec. Frost is okay, like, You could play with a really OP caster and do well as Frost in like coordinated real 3s. They're going to suck ass in solo shuffle though. And they're not going to be anyone's like, you know, best spec to play with. So kind of the same problems that Frost typically has. Sorry, I have some voice issues that I'm literally getting surgery for. So just going to have a sip of water here. Okay, so moving on. I'll ignore that Moobot video. That's like a 9.1 Moonkin guide or something. But I suck at streaming, so I don't know how to fucking edit that. So I need some help to delete that shit. What up, Mike the Seal? Windwalker. Windwalker is really good, I think. Windwalker has so many things to trade that I think a skilled player like Chun or Drake or someone who's really good at it is never going to die. You can only die if you stay in and just sustain damage, because you're still a damage sponge, but you have a lot of trades. So if you're smart and you weave in and out, I don't think you're ever going to die with how much you have to trade right now. And you do insane burst. So I think Windwalker is definitely an A tier spec. It's really tanky, but you have to be smart for it to be tanky. You can't be a pleb. You can't play passively like these S tier specs and never die. In terms of your tankiness, you're kind of like a feral, but even more squishy because you don't have the extra armor and forms. You have to be, you kind of have to have some finesse. But Windwalker is going to pair really well with every comp in the A and the S tier that I have here. So it's going to be great for real 3s, solo shuffle. You can definitely end the game yourself with your burst. You have a lot of utility. It's still a good spec. I think it's still kind of boring though, in the sense that you have like a 1 minute go and then you can't do as much between that. And the best playstyle is still this running in and out thing, which I fucking hate. So it's not the most fun spec if you ask me, but there's still a lot you can do on it. It's just like, it's still scripted. Like they really need Fist Stun to come back for it to be a solid spec. Yeah. Hot Shaky Purge. We'll get there, buddy. I don't think you really play the spin proc the same way, but you still have the 1 minute leg sweep and some like what's it called? The crit modifier thing that's OP. Kiefers. So you're still kind of on this like go in and out. Like you take more damage than the S tier classes do if you're standing in the middle, so it's better to run. It's kind of annoying. Yeah. Ret. I thought Ret was going to be really OP based off of their utility gains. And they're actually just not that great. And the reason why is they're a damage sponge. These specs here are just fucking unkillable. Like Ret's mobility isn't as good as the other melee, and you get stuck and you take a lot of damage. You get controlled as well. So Ret got some cool utility buffs that I thought would make them really OP, like a shorter cooldown sack and some other things, but their burst isn't as spiky because burst is turned down across the board with the 40% HP buff. So like Ret's won these games for no reason in Shadowlands by catching people off guard. So you can't quite do that anymore. And then your sustained isn't as great as these other specs, and your survivability isn't as great. So it's another B tier spec. I'd put it kind of here because you have more utility than Evoker and BM, but I think survival is a little bit better. So yeah, these things in B tier actually aren't bad at all, and they're really subject to move up as well. C tier, maybe I should put these all on D because there kind of is a bigger distinction here. I'd say these, yeah, let me just, let's just do this. Medium gap. So maybe that makes more sense. Shadow Priest, holy fuck. Shadow Priest is insane. I think it's going to be a meta-defining spec. I think as soon as they nerf DH, DK, and Warlock, Shadow is going to fucking destroy everybody. Shadow is extremely fun. Shadow has a million different builds. I did my Shadow Priest deep dive with Alex today, and you probably saw that if you watched that. It's going to be a hard one to nerf. They're just going to be consistently good in whatever way, like even if they get nerfed. And they're not... SP's so funny, because with some of my logic, they should be the best A tier because they're still killable and they're not like, they don't piss you off. Like they're not that level of OP, but they're still S tier because they're more well-rounded than any other spec in the game. They're the best at being well-rounded. So fuck it, they're S tier too. Great sustained, great burst, a million different play styles to adapt with, depending on what comp you're playing and what matchup you're fighting. It's, I think, the most fun spec in the entire game. So it's what I'm going to main and level first. And it's what I've been playing beta on like 5 hours a day. It's that fun. So catch me on Shadow Priest. Yeah. Mute Rogue is super insane. Mute Rogue is extremely squishy, but they are horrifying offensively. You basically have double Shiv now. So Shiv, the way it works is that it's a 40% MS that lasts for 9 seconds. And now you have 2 charges of it. So you can effectively just fucking destroy anyone whose cooldowns are healing only. So Mute is really... Mute's insane, actually. There's some really dogshit players on the beta who have gotten higher rated than almost anyone else playing Mute. So they're squishy, but they walk people down. So you kind of run in and out, but Mute's really insane. I think the things that are going to hold Mute back are that Evoker has a 1-minute bleed dispel, and I think Dark Iron Dwarf is going to become the meta as well because Human and Orc just took a big nerf with the... let me show you. With the... so now the new Trinket 2-piece is this 15% damage reduction, or crowd control reduction. And then you also have another thing that increases that. So there's not the same need to be Orc because this doesn't stack with similar effects like it says. So I think Dark Iron Dwarf is going to be probably the best race for most classes. So that's going to be a big hit to Assassination. So Assassination is insane, but I think it's going to have a lot of counterplay. And I think once people are a little more coordinated and, you know, talking to their Evoker friends or playing Dark Iron Dwarf, this isn't going to be as good. So I think it's the lowest A tier because it's got the most room for counterability and the least survivability on the A tier. That's my logic there. It's all good, Alex. Even if they nerf SP, it's just going to be insane anyway. I don't know how they can nerf this spec. There's so many good options, so it's all good. And it's not obnoxious, so it's not going to get the calls for nerfs the same way DK and DH will, in my opinion. Outlaw Rogue is interesting. I've heard people say it's good. I've heard people say it's bad. I haven't played it myself, and I have never fought it. So I don't know. It's got a ton of control, but now there's the built-in relentlessness, so I think it takes a big hit there. I think it's better than all these specs, but I think it's the worst B tier because you still take a decent amount of damage and you have to play defensively to like counter that. Feint got nerfed to 20%, by the way, you guys. So Feint is way less powerful. People can die through Feint now. And so that's a really big deal for rogues. But Outlaws, it's not going to be horrible. It's not going to be good either, I think. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think good people can make it work still. But I think Assassination is going to have some kind of higher ceilings a little bit. Sub Rogue, I'm just going to put it here temporarily. So fundamentally, Sub Rogue just got fucking owned by the 40% HP buff and the built-in relentlessness. Sub Rogue takes a ton of damage staying in the middle, more damage than almost any other spec here. So you still have to do that dipping in and out thing, but you can't burst people down the same way with the extra HP and with the reduced duration of CC. So they're really struggling at the moment. They can still do a lot of damage though, and there's, of course, as you might imagine, some really bullshit one-shot rogue builds. So they're kind of lower here. They're not doing too hot. They're just the kind of damage and like sustainability profiles that work best with PvP are changed. It's not the run away and 100-0 someone anymore, which thank fucking God. Because everyone hated that, I would imagine, unless you're Oz the Great One. So I'm really relieved that Sub Rogue is eating some butt down here. Thank goodness. Yeah. So Ellie is the next DPS spec, I think. Ellie is very good. I think that's about where it stands. I think the problem with Ellie is that it gets completely run down by melee still. So I think it's gonna really not do great in solo shuffle, because you're gonna get run over by melee, and Ellies are used to this. You know this reality. You get fucking stampeded on by, Freddy the 1K DH and the fucking his buddy the 1.2K DK, and there's nothing you can do even if you're a 3K Ellie and these people have one brain cell between the two of them. So it's the same problem. You really rely on having a very powerful partner to make up for you getting trained and provide pressure and like keep you alive. So like Ellie lock was insane, but you needed a really good lock like frickin' Mercy to make it work. And you needed a really OP partner as well, like in terms of class and skill. So I don't think Ellie's going to be good at the lower level. It does insane damage. It's insane burst, insane sustained, but you get run over by these melee DPS still. So I think in solo shuffle, if you're like an Ellie and the other 3 DPS in the shuffle are all melee, you're going to lose every game because you're going to get trained by double melee every game. So I don't think they're going to be great at shuffle. They're not going to be bad either because you do so much damage. Like that's such a powerful tool. But I think they're going to do really well in actual 3s, unlike solo shuffle with specifically another caster, specifically Lock or Shadow Priest. That does a ton of damage if you leave them unchecked and has a lot of utility to keep you alive. So I think you're going to kind of be pigeonholed into that same reality that Ellies are really used to. So Ellie Lock is going to be, it's time to go suck some Demo Warlock dick. Like it's, you find yourself a big sexy Demo Warlock and you keep them happy. I think that's the spot that Ellie's in. So... yeah, Enhance is the best spec in the game. Just kidding. Enhance does a lot of damage. I think it's A tier as well. Yeah, Alex, man. Yeah, we're gonna buddy up because everything is good with Shadow Priest, and I'm gonna have 100 ults, so you can play with all my ults, man. That'll be great for you. So I think Enhance is really good. It does a lot of damage. It was doing a ton of damage, and then it just got a 5% buff today. So I think Enhance fucking slaps ass right now. Enhance kind of owns. They still don't have a ton of utility, but you get Lasso and Thunderstorm, so you have more utility. Like before that, they just kind of did fucking nothing but damage and heal and interrupt. But now you at least have like 2 buttons to press. So I think that'll feel good for Enhance, and they're improved upon. I think they're tankier than everything here. And they have some good team utility. I think they're amongst the least tanky A tiers here. The cutoff with like tankiness is like right after Windwalker. These 3 specs take a lot more damage. Lilith, that DK build, I haven't been playing my DK. I've just been reading the talents and testing the numbers with healing. I've been slapping ass in Duratar though. I've been farming people in duels because they can't kill me. But I've more just been like, I want to get DK nerfed. I hate how OP DK is, specifically into casters, but really into everything defensively. So I was literally trying to write up a report, and that's why I made that character. So I do not have the best DK builds. The person who's been playing the most DK on beta is probably either Mez or the Russian DK Shadow Death. Both of those guys are really good DKs who've been playing a lot of beta. So Mez would probably be your guy. So yeah, I don't know if this is kind of confusing. These 3 specs, they're going to have really good comps. They're definitely the end of A tier. I think it's okay to all keep them here. There's only so many levels of this you can kind of create. So I think this looks pretty good. Okay, Affliction Warlock. It's probably S tier. It got nerfed, but it's still fucking insane. Demo Warlock it's the best caster by far. I would actually put Demo Warlock is fucking insane. I can't put it over. It's close between DK and Demo. I feel like DK does insanely well into Demo. But Demo I feel like as soon as DK gets, I don't know. Demo is killable, unlike DK. I don't know how to order this one. It's a close, I think DH is better than both of these specs, but Demo and DK are probably really about the same. You think, Chrome? The problem is, okay, so I've played a ton of Demo, Chrome. If I fight a DH DK, I'm losing every game. So, okay, this is an S tier spec, but it automatically loses to these specs. So that's what's confusing. Like, Demo is so good, but the anti-caster, like, toolkits of DH and DK, like, you don't really stand a chance still. Because I've been fighting people who are uncoordinated and solo shuffle on Demo. Well, the thing is, here's my argument, Chrome. So I think with Demo, if you're actually fighting a cleave that is in Discord, so Unholy and DH, like imagine these two in Discord, like together shutting you down with a healer that's also working to shut you down compared to solo shuffle where you can actually get off a lot more damage. I don't know. I just don't think casters are as good as melee right now. I actually don't. Because of the anti-caster toolkits of these melee. I do not do any damage to DKs as any caster spec that I play, including Demo. So I kind of can't, in good faith, put them past Unholy, because my damage heals Unholy DKs. It doesn't do damage to them. The only chance I had to kill an Unholy DK was with Dampening Bugged and stacking twice, and even then I couldn't fucking kill them. I would accidentally kill their fucking partner with Cleave before I kill the Unholy DK. And that would be at 99% dampening. They just cannot die to casters. I think if there's a single caster on the team, the DH will win, or the DK team will win. I really do. Yeah, I agree, Chrome. I think, yes. I think Demo beats everything besides these two specs. I really do. And it is close. The other thing is that Affliction really fucking owns Demo. So it's kind of funny. I think, but Demo is the better overall thing. I think it still really struggles with, I don't think so, Hans. I'm going to go into the Warlock tree after this, and I'll show you why Lock is OP. Because I played a ton of Lock on beta. And I'm clapping ass on my Demo. But so the thing about Demo is that it has an AoE MS from your pet. So it's going to be a mandatory ingredient in all the best caster cleaves. It does Insane Sustained, it does Disgusting Burst, and you have an AoE MS. You also have probably the most CC in the entire game in any one class on Demo, with your stuns, coil, fears, like all the amount of things you have. I don't know. If these classes weren't overtuned, DH and DK, Demo would be the best spec in the game by far. But these classes have like broken numbers. I think Demo is just disgustingly well-rounded, kind of like Shadow Priest. And really, I think the only thing that's broken about Demo is how tanky Locks are. I think Locks need some defensive nerfs. But I think Demo and SP have the most control of any specs in the game by far. But right now, if you're a caster, you're still not beating these two fucking dipshit cleaves over here. So, unfortunately for you. But Demo will be the best spec as soon as they nerf these things, and SP will also be the best spec as soon as they nerf these things. So yeah, that being said, let me just show you why Locks are OP here. This is important to do for the integrity of my list. All right, so we're on Dipi XYZ, the ultimate Chad. So I'll just show you how all these things work together a little bit. So yeah, you've got this soul leech map. Okay, so keep in mind, 40% HP buff, right? 40% HP buff, really, really good for Demo. You'll see all the percentage HP things here. Soul leech is based off of your percentage HP. That's pretty OP. As you can imagine, that's a great synergy. You have all these talents that affect Soul Leech. This one gives you a passive 3% damage reduction as well. Your coil is also percentage HP based. Seems good. This is one of the most OP things that Locks have in general, is the, Curse of Tongues, Curse of Weakness, Curse of Exhaust. And then, but in particular, specs, you have to like spec into Remove Curse. Is so many classes now. So you're going to see that less often. You're going to see people forget to change that into Warlock, etc. Like I know on Boomy, it's really hard to get Remove Curse with like a lot of the builds I want to play. It pisses me off if I have to switch it. So these things gain a ton of value. They also don't have any cooldowns, so you can spam them if someone dispels. But the very big, most OP, nerf immediately thing on Warlock right now is Amplify Curse. Oh, sorry, my throat hurts like fuck. Gonna have another sip of water here. Okay. So Amp Curse is insanely OP. 20-second cooldown. 20-second cooldown. What I do is I'll amp weakness a Windwalker who wants to kill somebody. They will not be killing anybody. They do not have a curse to spell. They're pretty unhappy. They can't crit with their Kiefers. That's pretty cool. I don't think that's nearly as obnoxious as Amp Curse of Tongues, however. Amp Curse of Tongues is a 70% casting reduction that lasts... How much does Curse of Tongues last? I think it's like 12 or 15 seconds. I think it's 12 or 15 seconds. I think it's 12. That's disgustingly OP. You're not casting if a Warlock is smart and Amp Curses you, and you don't have a Dispel for it. It's also only a 20-second cooldown, so they can keep slapping that up. It's kind of hard to tell who has the Amp Curse on them, because you can spam your tongues as well. You'll know once you try to cast something, and it takes 6.7 seconds to cast a Cyclone or whatever, but this is the single most OP thing, or most annoying thing on Lock and other casters. So Locks are horrifically anti-caster with Curse of Tongue spam in general, and then also this Amp Curse. We also have lower haste levels because it's the beginning of the expansion. So casters, like, just kind of traditionally, because of the lower haste levels, do less well at the beginning of the expansion. You tend to see Mage Lock more at the end of the expansion, for example, as you guys can probably remember. So yeah, Locks are really, really anti-caster with that. And then you have all these HP modifiers here. So you've got 5% bonus HP here. Where is the other HP thing? Oh, here it is, 10%. So you've got 15% bonus HP, and that works with the 40% HP you have. So Locks and DKs, this shit is just disgusting. The amount of HP they have and the way everything works with their percentage HP based abilities. Oh, my voice is really dying. Might have to take it a little slower. Yeah, Sweet Souls is super OP. Your party can Healthstone for you, and Healthstone heals 10% more. Again, 10% of your max HP, really OP. Let me look at... There was a game I played... Let's see here. Yeah, my last game that I played, and this was before dampening was even nerfed, I did 20k healing or something. Like, this went down after the game. Like, I had an MS on me, and my Healthstone healed for 265k. That's pretty fucking OP. I almost healed for as much... I healed for like 2/3 of what Zenlin did. That's Zenlin's character. It's... Block just does so much healing. It's really insane. It's hard to kill them unless... You can kill them if you're like a cleave that has, multiple MSs and you lock them down. You can do that just fine. I've died in the opener still, but it's hard to kill you if you have like good support from a team. Really, really, really hard to kill you. You're not a viable kill target compared to anything on the A tier. Dark Pact, again... Dark Pact does a ton of healing right now. Let's see. What is this? So this got nerfed. That's actually not as insane as I've seen it. My HP is not scaled up because I'm outside of war mode and I'm abusing gear scaling up and I have greens on. So this is probably like a 250k shield in arena, but that is affected by Mortal Strikes. So Dark Pact doesn't bother me as much, but that's still a very powerful cooldown for just being 1 minute. So it's a really good defensive. You still have Wall. Wall still has a shorter cooldown. I'm not playing this right now because of... I'm mostly just playing solo shuffle, so you don't really get the reset anyway. This is a talent that makes Dark Pact better. This is another talent that makes Soul Leech really OP. You still have insane utility with your stuns. Soul Leech over Dark Pact. Now you don't have to compete with Soul Leech and Dark Pact. You used to have to compete between them on the talent tree, but now you just get Dark Pact every game. But Soul Leech is more OP than Dark Pact right now, but you get both. This is OP as well. You heal a lot with Leech because you do so much damage kind of passively, even if you're getting trained. That doesn't really do that much. What is it? Every lock spec gets Soul Link. You did miss the SP deep dive. I'll publish the VOD though. It's not published right now. I think Alex and I went into it for like 45 minutes on Shadow Priest. And you can see it on Alex, aka Stops VOD, and he's also going to put it on YouTube. So you can see the SP deep dive there. I went into like every talent build that's good for SP, like comps, everything. Your new rotation, stuff like that. So yeah, that'll be available soon, I would imagine. Yeah, dude, my voice hurts. I'm still going though, Chrome. I'm gonna take the night off from talking after this. Yeah. Okay, so every lock spec gets Soul Link, super fucking OP. You have all these modifiers for Soul Leech here. Okay, this is one of the most OP things that nobody is talking about. This, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Netherwind Armor. It was a really OP mage talent that kept mages alive for 15 minutes in tournaments. And it reduced the chance that they were crit, and nobody understood how it worked for the longest time. So this reduces the chance you'll be crit by 4%. I have 6% crit. The way this functions is it shaves 4% crit off of that. So effectively, I would have 2% crit if I was hitting a Warlock playing this. It's not fun to have 2% crit. There are classes that really rely on critting a lot, that have crit modifiers that are what their damage is like tuned around. And this is pretty fucking insane. Your pet's also really tanky based off of this. And where is it? There's a talent that there's a few Felguard. Here it is. So your pet's really tanky as demo compared to every other expansion. So this is an insane talent. Like 15% less damage for your pet. And then also, you just really can't be crit. Like that's insanely OP. You're not going to play this so much as demo, but as Affliction, you're still unkillable because of Drain Life. Drain Life heals so much. I've seen Affliction Warlocks literally do like 30k healing when they're spamming Drain Lives. Like there's one time I was watching someone drain for a lot and I was like, holy fuck, that was a lot of healing. And I looked at the healing meter and he went from like 10k HPS to like 25k HPS when he was spamming Drain Lives. It pissed me off. But demo, you don't really play that. You're tanky enough with this other stuff. And the thing that I'm honestly most excited about, period, on Warlock is Soulburn. It's really OP, extremely short cooldown. Yeah, so, and this really makes you super tanky. So when you port, you gain 50% movement speed and you are immune you get a freedom for 8 seconds. So that's super OP because, whoops, I didn't Soulburn. But that's a really long time for a freedom, and that's a really long time for a sprint. And that's only a 30-second cooldown. So you can kite better than you've ever kited, even though melee have increased mobility, because you can spam slow them and they can't re-slow you because of the freedom from port. So I feel so tanky if I'm kiting well. Yeah, you can't really chase a lock. Dude, Chrome, there was one time you were hitting me, my friend, and you were 2 yards away from me, and you bum rushed me in the gates. But me being the versatile player that I am, I made a port anyway, and I just Soulburn ported, and I didn't even care about the distance. I just wanted the freedom. And then I fucking zoomed right away from you. You couldn't touch me, even though I ported 1 yard. So like, it's really insane. Yeah, this is also super insane for Drain Life with Affliction, as you might imagine. Imagine, topping yourself with 1 Drain Life and then you get a shield for 30% of that. This is also really good. Your pet will be a lot harder to kill too with Soulburn Health Funnel. So your pet's going to be really tanky as demo because of a few things. I don't even play short cooldown Feldom because my pet's so tanky. And the Soul Leech all goes to your pet too. But yeah, the other damage reduction for your pet, it's the kill the pet strategy is going to be a lot less effective into demo, which I appreciate. I do not like when people kill pets. Yeah, I can. I'm gonna fucking pass out after I make this tier list because my voice is dead and I gotta eat. But I'll link all these builds for like Shadow, and just send me a Twitch message to remind me. Okay, just send me a Twitch message now, and I'll get to it at some point. It'll be my sticky note. So yeah, locks are fucking unkillable. You also have instant gateway, so like I can't use it here, but you can Soulburn instant gate, so you can like fucking life grip people in weird angles with that. And I don't know. You don't have to be as mindful of like your positioning with Instant Gate. Like you can just get away anyway. So your mobility is insane, and then you have all this percentage-based healing or percent HP healing that is modified 1 by the 40% stamina buff, and 2 by these HP modifiers in your talents. So Locks have extremely good talent trees. And yeah, I just wanted to go into the defensive stuff to explain why Warlocks are S tier. Every spec of Warlock, Destro is still fucked because they have to cast, although Conflag really cranks as well. Oh, sorry. Dude, honestly, I was getting spam harassed by like this group of people like at the end of the season. So I turned off all private messages on Discord and Twitch. So I have to change that. It'll probably give me the option to accept it if you send it. Fuck, what is my cord? One sec. I think this is my... Wait, what is my... You can just freaking add me on BattleNet. I'm not going to see it because I'm on beta, but why don't you just do that? Yeah, where was I on this tier list? Let's see. Sorry, that was a big disruption from the tier list, but I'm just trying to go into all the detail here and really explain things. So yeah, you can see, Warlock defensives, DK defensives, they're so percentage HP based that they're not like recalibrated with the big buff to HP. So as that stands, they're just... I feel like SP should be better than all these specs except for Demo, but these 4 specs all benefit from the percentage HP healing and are unkillable, and SP dies. I don't think these specs can die. But SP is so good, I want to put it. This is what I want to do. This is what should be the reality, but it's not because the defensives of Warlock, DK, and DH are overtuned. So like I can't put classes that can't die, like ahead of classes that can. That's how I see it. So Affliction's still really insane, still insane damage. I have the feeling we're going to see those updates. So I'm expecting these specs to, minus Shadow Priest, these specs are all going to get nerfed. And then I think the game's going to feel better. I'll get there, Mike. I'll get there. Unfortunately, it does. Yeah, and so Demo works. Demo is definitely an S tier spec because it just works well with everything. You have so much utility. You have an MS. You can't die. It's going to be... I'm so excited to play Demo and Shadow Priest because they are going to be so versatile, work with everything. It'll be a lot of fun. Chrome. Okay, so moving on. I gotta like pump through this because my voice is literally going to die. So Destro is actually really fucking good. I think it's probably the best B tier because of like how OP its passives are. I think it'll be super shitty in solo shuffle, but really good in actual, or not really good, but good in actual arena when you can choose your partner and they can help you out. Kind of the same situation as Ellie. Like you have like major weaknesses when getting trained. So you need a really specific class to be supporting you, like as the other DPS. And then they also have to be like a pretty good player. So I think this is going to work well in arena. This could even be A tier, but it's either the highest B or the lowest A, Destro. So it's something in between. It's one of the few specs here that's kind of on the cusp. Yeah, so I'll leave it there though. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Destro's pump, but they do get shut down. Arms is confusing. I think Arms is really, really good on paper. They don't have the passive healing and tankiness that these classes do, but they have so much utility. I think Arms is... I don't think they're great right now, but I think they're going to get buffed and be really good. So I think Arms is like plop in the middle of everything. I think they're going to become very good at some point in the expansion, probably some point in the first patch, but at the moment they're just okay. They do okay damage, but the big thing is, again, their survivability. Like these specs here, they just take a lot of damage and they can be controlled. This Mute is like the least tanky thing on the A tier, but it is so powerful offensively that it still gets up there. Yeah. Fury Warrior is definitely, it's not S tier. It's high A tier. I would put it over Feral. I think that's where it stands. I would actually put Frost DK over Arcane Mage. Frost DK is unkillable, which is why it's like the highest thing, but I don't think it's as powerful offensively as a lot of the specs here. But the most powerful thing in Arena is to be unkillable. That's the best thing you can have, and Frost DK is unkillable. But Fury Warrior is insane. It does a lot of self-healing. It does a lot of damage. You have new and improved mobility. Sure, pal. You did so much healing even before the dampening nerf, Chrome. And now I feel like you do the most healing ever, like after dampening has been fixed. So Warrior's in a great spot as Fury because you synergize extremely well with DK, and I think that is going to be one of the best comps in the game. It's weird. Fury MS is buggy still, and it gets canceled out by these classes with a flat MS effect. So like DH Warrior would be kind of clunky there. I guess you could spec out of the MS as DH. But Fury just synergizes so well with the S tier specs that it's going to be at the higher range of the A tier because you're actually going to have insane comps. And a lot of the time, like in solo shuffle at high rating, you're going to be with these S tier specs that you synergize so well with. So you're not going to be as good as them individually, but you synergize so well with them and you're not a liability. You still have like a really busted MS effect at 40% if you can get it up, and you still do a ton of damage, and you're way, way tankier than ARMS. Fury Warriors have defensive stance and Blood Rage now. Blood Rage is the 10% damage reduction while enraged, and now new to Fury, you also get D-stance. So you can have 20% passive damage reduction if you need. You typically don't need, because you heal so much. Chrome, by the way, is playing this build where he spams Bloodthirst and it does a ton of healing, and that is going to be the best build. It's just, I've seen other warriors playing other things that don't heal as much, and they do the same or less damage, but his build just heals so much. So yeah, you might get screwed over a little bit with the MS bugs in solo shuffle, but between solo shuffle and coordinated real threes, Fury Warrior is like, it's the top of A tier, really. I think it's melee right now. Until DH, Warlock, and DK are nerfed, melee are better than casters. So I'm putting Arcane behind Fury. I might even put Frost behind Fury. I think Windwalker Frost is going to be super insane, by the way, you guys. This is just like kind of more based, I guess this is an all over the place kind of well-rounded list, but I might even make a video about comps and stuff that I think are really going to be insane. I think Windwalker DK is going to own. Yeah, that's actually it for the DPS. I don't know, any comments or questions on like why I placed anything here? If you missed some of it, I don't know if anyone in chat has any questions here. But anything on the S or A tier, I would really recommend. Yeah, they're all super, super good. And like I said, there is a really big gap, and this is based off of survivability specifically between the A and the B tier. Assassination Rogue is the weird outlier here where they're still squishy but made it to A tier. I don't think rep pumps that much, and I think they're CC and damage sponges. I don't know. I feel like Rogue can get away a little bit better than Ret, and I think Rogue damage is. I think Rogue is just going to be or Assassination is going to be in a better spot than Ret, just off of how it pairs with other classes, off of the double shiv. Ret just feels like they're so vulnerable. Like I fought Mez playing his Ret a few times, and he just seemed like such a liability. He was always either CC'd or like dead or in bubble. Is what it felt like when I was playing with Mez on his Rat. And yeah, the Rets just tended to be way lower rated in solo shuffle. I haven't fought a ton of good ones. So, there's a huge disclaimer for everything here that some specs have better representation than other on beta because there's not a perfectly well-rounded population on beta. Like people think that Survival Hunter is a lot better than I think it is because Big Mex is fucking slapping everybody on beta. But when I play against Big Mex, he takes a lot of damage, and I don't know, I feel like I always do well into him because, yeah, you can just kill him compared to just fighting a DH, a DK, or a lock. If I'm playing my Shadow Priest or Warlock in solo shuffle and I see any of these any Warlock, any other Warlock, DK or DH, I just know I'm not going to have nearly as much fun and control. And if I'm playing my Shadow Priest or Warlock and I fight not those things, I will win every round. Like, I have so much control on these two specs, but they're really just stapled down like a level because of the anti-caster capabilities of DH, DKs, and even lock mirrors. Like, you just can't play the game nearly as much. Because if it's a lock versus lock, you're both amp Curse of Tongues the entire game. So no one can control as much. So you kind of counter each other out. So the number one thing I would beg the devs to handle is the anti-caster capabilities and the passive tankiness of Warlock, DH, and DK. And then I think Warlock and DK specifically have to be retuned because of the 40% HP buff, because they have so many things that work with HP. But these specs are all super fun right now. Mute Rogue maybe a little bit less. And I'd say for the most part improved. I think Feral's honestly a little less fun. But people love Feral. Just the way I like to play Feral is a little differently. Dipi. Dude, Chrome, I'm happy for you, man. You enjoy that for me. With my throat issues, I cannot have any alcohol. I cannot smoke at all. And so, like, I'm getting a surgery to fix that. So maybe you and I can get sauced up after the surgery. But yeah, I've got a surgery coming up. I just got insurance approval today for the surgery. And so I literally just called my boss to tell him I'm stepping away from my job today. And or literally an hour ago, or hour or two